FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. It's Kerry, Lutz. And whatever happened to the IRS scandal? It's only been around for a couple of years. People should have gone to jail for it. If you remember, it was one of the prime reasons that President Nixon retired. And yet, nothing has happened here in Washington. Nobody's been held accountable. It's been a big zero. Well, we've got Don Mazzola here with us now. You know him well, well-known political expert, economic expert, and he's going to tell you his thoughts on it. Don, welcome back.
Well, I'm glad always to be with you. My real thoughts about it, I can't say on the air. But basically, what we've seen is a tremendous failure by the media to really follow up on this. My sources in Washington tell me that the various investigative committees and now the Senate has taken up have uncovered numerous things that are absolutely wrong. I consider it one of the greatest invasion of Americans. I can't barely speak on it because whenever I get so angry about it. The IRS potentially is the most powerful policing arm in the United States, and one that can intimidate, can make anyone fearful for their family, for their own financial safety. And what the IRS did with that, which essentially prevent anti-Obama groups from getting their nonprofit status, and then further than that, demanded information which would be of value to people who try to communicate. And let me explain. There's really 2 parts to this. One part is that they delayed certification of 501 status, which enabled those donations to be tax deductible. And theoretically, yes, somebody can argue donating to a political action group or to some advocacy group should not be tax exempt, but it is. And there are many groups on the left who, at the same time applied, sailed through, while those on the right were denied. But equally as important and often overlooked in the discussions is the fact that the IRS was demanding that these groups turn over their donor lists, which would then become public property and enable people to go out after them, as proven in the fact in Wisconsin, where we had this runaway district attorney in Milwaukee that took the list and then went out after donors. So you have the IRS, which all you have to do is mention the IRS to people, and their hackles get up, and they become very fearful. And you have this group sitting there saying, we want this, 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 and this. And it is an egregious use of the federal government for political purposes, one of the most egregious. They complained about Richard Nixon because he wanted a list of the 50 top donors. Yet this was demanding thousands upon thousands names, and nothing was done about it. It is really something that should be on the front pages. Here in New Jersey, the front pages are loaded with stories about 2 underlings for Governor Christie who closed the lane on the George Washington Bridge. Yet these same newspapers and outlets do not discuss this much more egregious attack on American rights and Americans. You talk about a police state, it's about as close as you can get. Sorry to be so long-winded, but that's how I feel about it.
I totally understand. I mean, this is just incredible that it's gone undiscussed in the media. It just shows that the mainstream media is a farce, and they're just pretenders. They're a bunch of posers. That they're there supposedly protecting the public. That they're there to hold the government accountable. They're just an extension of the liberal progressive party. I mean, what is their function anymore? They're just a farce.
I'm a member of the media. I think I'm a proud member. But it's very difficult for me when I talk to these programs to disagree, because I've been a firm believer in that adage: give me a free press, a choice between a free press and a free society. I will choose a free press because it will get me a free society. But I have been very, very concerned over the years. I'm in this business over 50 years, and I grew up with a bunch of liberal. There was no question these guys were liberal to a core. But people who really tried to provide both sides of the story, and to attack anybody that was a hypocrite or did something wrong. It is so sad to me how the media has gone, and this story is the best example of it. If this had been a Republican president, they would have been all over it. And the very fact, as we have with George, with his Greek name always escapes me.
Yeah,
yeah,
the Clinton thing.
I mean,
yeah,
not to
garbage.
To interview an author of a book that's anti-Clinton and not say on the air that I contributed $75,000 to the Clinton Foundation, the very story he was working on. What people fail to realize is that the main thesis of the book was the fact of how they used this foundation, and to say it, and not admit it, I mean, that's a firing offense. It won't happen, but it is a firing offense.
Oh, I think he's going to be squeezed out. I got to disagree with you there, Don. I'm sure that he will be squeezed out. They won't say that he was fired for that reason. Of course, he's going to have other opportunities or move on to spend more time with his family or something like that. I guarantee you.
I wish I could agree with you, but popularity and money. Well, look at Brian Williams. That's a firing offense. And they're still trying to figure out how to get him back on the air.
No, he'll be gone. He will be gone. I'm willing to bet you dollars to donuts that he'll be gone.
I'll send you a dozen Dunkin' Donuts.
All right, you're on. You are on, because I'm telling you, he'll be gone. There's no question. They won't say they fired him for that reason, but he will be gone. No, they have to get rid of him.
I hope so. I've never been a big fan of his. But
he's terrible, and he has no audience either. The only reason they've kept him on is because he's a friend of the Clintons. That's the only reason. Look, otherwise he would never be on.
See, that's the point. The newsmen that I grew up with, and women that I grew up with, and I would drink with them, would go out with them, but would not consider themselves friends because it biases your reporting. Yes, we all have our biases, and we all kind of lean one way or the other.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important that we as in the media try to steer a neutral path. It is sad. It is sad where it's come. But if you look at it then that way, if you look at the ratings of Fox versus CNN versus MSNBC, it would indicate to you, because people tend to go to the station that most reflects their views in this world today. And if you look at it that way, then this nation is more conservative than liberal.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to take a measure of it. As someone else said to me recently, the Democratic Party is, without the black vote, is essentially a minority party. I thought it was a very telling remark.
Oh yeah, no question. That's definitely the truth. Because Yeah, the Hispanics are fracturing from them. It's also the labor vote, the trial lawyer vote, right? I mean, who else do they have, really? Think about it, right?
They don't. But to get back to our original topic, and also to kind of give you a little heads up, my birds in Washington tell me that after sometime in the next 3 months, there's going to be a very scathing report issued by Congress in some form. They're trying to figure out how about this. Because the evidence they've uncovered, despite the stonewalling by the IRS, I'm told that there's, on the House committee, there's a real bulldog of a young lawyer who is absolutely, she's an aide, but she happens to have a law degree, but she's not practicing, that has apparently really uncovered a lot of dirt despite the best efforts of the IRS. And they're just trying to figure out how to put it together into an easily understandable form for the American public that even the media can't ignore. And
good luck on that one. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, so they've got the dirt on them, they've got the goods, and yeah. What about that guy?
It's how to get it out to the public.
What about that guy who's the head of the IRS, Kassikian? That guy just seems like a no-good lying SOB. Am I not mistaken on that?
Well, you said it. If I say it, it's libel. If you say it, it's not. But let us put it this way.
Well,
he wouldn't be among people I'd invite to my wedding.
Truth is an absolute defense, correct?
In some states, but not in others. It's an absolute defense, but it's an interesting point. People get Al Sharpton gets away with murder. Some of the things he says, but if a white man says it, all of a sudden it's terrible.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're saying, for sure. But yeah. But this is just totally outrageous. The whole thing egregious.
No, please continue, because I love always talking with you. You're a really interesting host.
Yeah, well, these guys, I mean, the IRS, that Kassikian guy, they've just caught him lying so many times that they should just have a sign up when he testifies, proven liar, right? I mean, he's a proven liar.
Yes.
I mean, he's just a total
and the
liar.
IRS, but I have to tell you, in defense, I had a problem with one of my foundations, and I called up the IRS, and they couldn't have been nicer to us.
Yeah. Everyone I've dealt with there.
It was resolved over the phone quickly. I had to wait 20 minutes on the phone, but you have to give the good with the bad, I believe. And in this case, the IRS was extremely understanding, and we took care of the matter over the phone.
Everyone.
And a week and a half later, I had a letter confirming it.
Everyone I've ever dealt with at that agency has been totally nice to me, but that doesn't mean that nice people aren't put in an impossible position that they just can't deal with. Let's face it. We know this. It just happens that way. But then they've been put in a political position that they shouldn't have ever been put in, right?
Absolutely.
So,
but it's extremely interesting. We live in interesting times. I called up American Express the other day, and they always ask you as a question, "What's your date of birth?" And I always say, "You really know how to hurt a guy." And the man at the other end said, "Well, you tell me your birth date, then I'll tell you mine." And so I gave it to him, and I'll tell you, I'm 72 years old. And he says, "Well, I was born in 1938.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, "Did you? And you're working now?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Did you really think when you grew up that you'd be working at your age?" He said, "No, I didn't really think so. But to tell you the truth, I retired, but I got bored."
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was an interesting exchange, because when we were growing up, in our generation, we thought we retire at 65. Now, many of us can't retire at 65, and others find either the opportunity or the need to work. I know it's off the subject, but it just came to mind as we were talking. And I know you're a financial advisory program.
Not advisory, but, the fact is that, we do talk a lot about the economy, and, this is what the current economy under both of these parties have given us, which is ample opportunity to vote most of them out. But, the IRS, let's face it, they've got the dirty job of carrying out the economic, policy, the taker end of this economy, and not much we can do about it. Anyway, Don, we got to go, but just tell us your website, how we connect with you here.
Smallbusinessdigestmag.com.
All right. Well, it's always a pleasure. Hey, if you're listening, don't forget our next webinar is coming up this Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Going to have Rick Rule on, along with John Embry, two incredibly savvy, knowledgeable people, much more knowledgeable than I am about the economy, precious metals, where the economy is heading. Just take a look at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Just sign up on the mailing list. Sign up. You can click the graphic and sign up directly. Don, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.